Hi everyone. Welcome to the Finance Story Career Insight series, where we bring to you industry experts to share market trends, hiring patterns, or simply understand their careers. So, in the last few years, there has been an inflow of finance, accounting, and tax work being outsourced to India from the US, UK, and amongst many other countries. So, to keep up with this, there has been an increased demand in finance and accounting offshoring services that are being established in India. But the big question is, how do you set up such businesses? What is the investment that you need? And how big is this offshoring, outsourcing, finance and accounting business as such? So, to answer this and many more questions, we have with us Hardik. So, Hardik is a CA and ex-BDO manager who actually helped set up their remote and offshoring business from the scratch back in 2015, and he's now the founder of Talented. So he recently quit BDO to start Talented. So Hardik, thank you so much for the time.
I'm truly humbled, Chantal, to having this opportunity and highly appreciate it for having
Thank you
this
so much.
opportunity.
Thank you. So Hardik, my first question for you is, can you give us a little bit of a background? Okay, like how did you actually start in this entire remote audit offshoring space? When did it happen? And fast forward to 2023.
So when we look back, always we look smarter. So I don't want to take credit of it that this is what I had foreseen as the future of everything. The things came in, and I was fortunate enough to be in the right place at right time at the right employer. So starting with 2014, when I appeared my last CA exam paper, I got an opportunity to work in Bangalore with Ernst& Young, that too was a delivery center. So I moved to Bangalore. I started with Americas and Canadas, and within 4 months, I realized I need more of entrepreneurial environment. So I moved myself to BDO, and when I moved to BDO, decided that's my first job and last job. So there was no other interview which I had to appear after BDO. So I worked there for 7 years and 2 months, and was fortunate enough to get some opportunities bestowed upon me, starting with US, then UK, and multiple other countries. So that's the story in the short.
That's amazing. That was the main role, right? The remote audit at BDO, correct? Setting up their team, managing their team from scratch. So could you take us through the entire journey? What was it exactly like? Like, I know it's a lot of rewind, but it would really help.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Chantal, for giving me this opportunity to share with everyone the experience which I've never shared before. So starting with 2014, when I passed out CA with some 4 months of stint at EY doing the offshoring in BDO, wherein they got opportunity to develop their US offshoring for the first time. I was the first employee chosen, given an opportunity to go to US, and you learn from there. But as you know, US visa, they decide your fortune. So the visa got rejected, and the partner himself, who is actually the managing partner of BDO Rise now, came to India, and we started from scratch the team. So coming back to the main subject, how to develop offshoring, we were fortunate enough to start from the scratch. So we never had to take an assumption that only the low level work will come to India, because we were starting from scratch. We started with, suppose, venture capital. So we started with investment valuation and investment testing, which was the core area, and that's how the story started. From initial period itself, we tried to bring the qualitative work, and that's how the team grew from 5 people to 9 people to 30 people to 300 to 2000 currently.
Wow.
So always focusing on the quality over quantity. So initial years we grew very, very slowly. It took, I think, 3 years for us to reach till 100. We started with qualitative work and started very slowly and steadily. Later on, after 5 years, fast forward, when I had an opportunity to develop UK offshoring with BDO from scratch again, we started with 9 article trainees. But there also we tried to produce the qualitative work, and from 9 to 50, direct jump of almost fivefold wasn't difficult for us, because we had learned how offshoring works, how the qualitative output is something with the onshore is always expecting.
Wow, that's amazing. So, Hardik, my next immediate question, even those watching, would be, did you ever consider starting your own offshoring business? Because you knew the potential, you knew the money, you knew the process, which a lot of people don't know. Okay, so why Talented? And also tell us a little bit about Talented. Exactly what does it do? So, that would be great.
Wise people say never. So I don't want to say I don't want to never start offshoring. Never know. I will have to again start. But as I look back, I realized this game of offshoring is all around right people, finding right people. When I was also doing country after country, region after region, different arena when I was trying, I found out more than my own technical skill, finding right people at right place and giving them right work was creating the fortune for my earlier employer. So I found out there is no one else which I could foresee, is working on this crucial area of finding right people, which will finally create the right qualitative output, which is what onshore is looking for. And secondly, I saw there is a great, huge, gap between the growth of offshoring and the number of people getting produced with those skills which are required, which is like precise communication, qualitative work, professionalism, and timeliness. Those skills were missing apart from the required technical skills of knowing right business tools and understanding UK and US English. Those are the things, but no one was working on that. So I knew if I would have started my own offshoring, I had all that caliber. There are investors who are lined up who would like to invest behind my offshoring, but there is always a purpose which drives us than money. If money is not your purpose, so I think the purpose overdrew money. And I
Wow.
had to start that skill gap, company which is working with the classes, one of the top classes in India, where India are trying to create US offshoring, UK offshoring, crowd at fresher level, and helping few of the offshoring with the experienced staff like any other recruiter. Trading of staff. They want 2 years experienced staff. We get it from some other employer, and but the bigger gap I'm seeing is in fresher level hiring, because currently if the offshoring has 10,000 people, in just within 2 to 3 years, I'm expecting tenfold jump. So
Wow.
experienced people will always be lacking. They will be rated high, but I am more focusing on providing fresher level skilled staff.
Amazing. No, that's commendable that you actually chose, a purpose over money. Because I know a lot of outsourcing firms, offshoring businesses, who started with two, three, and as you said, it was a slow growth. But right now they are literally making tens of millions, and I'm literally 10 million, 20 million USD. Easy, easy money. Okay, so that's a big, in spite of you knowing that, so that's commendable. So Hardik, my next question to you is, you mentioned that you mentioned how BDO grew, from a team of interns to like 50 and 300, and then 2,000 people. Okay, so can you also tell us who are the top players in this entire industry, in this entire scenario, and if you have any examples of how they grew or something of that sort, if you could just give us an overview.
So there are large number of CPA firms, ICAEW firms in UK, US, and other countries. The outsourcing firms in India, which are not associated with Big Ten, they are reaching out to those CPA units, Ireland, UK, CA firms, and they are trying to take their work. Those firms never tried offshoring, but because their competitors, which is like Big Ten in those countries, are also trying offshoring, so they are also facing the cost issue. So they are forced to give work to India. Apart from they realizing the boundaries are intangible and they can share work in India with the similar quality or even a better quality. The work can be done from India. So those mid-sized CPA firm or CA firm outsourcing is increasing manifold, and there are larger number of opportunities in that. And Talented is focusing on those opportunities, which has something to do with mid-sized CA firm outsourcing. But from my experience, just to add what has not been covered, I would say starting gradually and growing high is something which every mid-sized CPA offshoring people have done, who have started from 2016 till 2020, when the world realized that geographies are just the tangible boundaries, and when it comes to work, there are no intangible, untouchable boundaries, and the work started passing on, and every other mid-sized CPA offshoring firms started growing fivefold, tenfold. And as I'm closely associated with many offshoring, those who are 200 people, they are looking for 1,000 people, okay, in next 6 months to 1 year. Only distance they have to travel is finding from 200 to 1,000 right people, which is where we are trying to play how much of a role we can play. But big player, as everyone knows, are the big four, big 10, who have started their offshoring. Example, video never had offshoring in India. We started in 2015. So are so many other I would say players in big 10. They still do not have their offshoring, which is what they are not actively doing it. So big 10 will be always a huge chunk, as everyone knows.
Okay, so from what I understand, mid-size CPA firms in different countries like UK, US, not the large ones, the mid-size ones have realized that hey, a lot of the big guys are transferring everything to India, okay, or other countries as it could be, outsourcing their work, so even they could do it. So you mean to say they are looking for people in India, okay, who could help them in the outsourcing work? As simple as that. So, and that's going to increase a lot more. You're saying that's going to really increase.
Perfect. It at
Okay.
least fivefold, tenfold in next 6 months, 1 year, 2 years time.
Okay, that's amazing. Okay, so Hardik, now I am a CA firm in India, for instance. Okay, I have a team of 5 people and I want to leverage this opportunity that's coming in. As you said, it's not too late. We can still be a part of this fast growing train or airplane, whatever you call it, right? So, what do I do? Okay, that's one. I'm a CA firm, a small one. What do I do? Or I want to set up something of my own. I'm not a CA firm. I just want to start an outsourcing and leverage this. So, how do I do from the scratch? What resources I need? What do I need? What's the infrastructure do I need? Do I need a lot of money? What is it?
Gentle, if you want to start selling a business of goods, what do you have to buy first? Goods.
Yep.
We are all into outsourcing. Those who are into outsourcing or service industry, first thing they have to look after is finding right people. So the game starts from banking on right people, deciding on which region or which work you want to go for. So let's simplify. First, they will have to find out the region. Every region has abundance of opportunities, maybe UK, Canada, Ireland, Australia, US. In that, you will have to see what's your own forte. Is it accounting, virtual CFO work, tax filing, payroll? Like, are those, what are your forte? If you do not have any forte, then where do you see people around with similar experience with big four or non big four, and you can get those people in and try to start your first pilot with good profile making and sharing it with some CPA firms, which might be in your own relationship. Like how I started is in 2022. After I left, I had one of my relatives who was settled in UK and he was having his own business. So I became the virtual CFO of the company, and I had my 5 to 7 people of team who were working on payroll, tax compliances, accounting, virtual CFO, R2R, P2P kind of work. We also handled their audit. So we learned all the compliance in practice. So this can be the finest way of starting with your relatives or starting with any acquaintance which you might have in overseas. If you do not have, then getting a right person in your team and making a good profile and sharing with the CPA firms or CA firms who are located outside India who are mid-sized can be a good start. I have heard that Upwork and those websites are also giving work, but since it has become really competitive, it takes a lot of time for a established CA firm to get work. Rather, since it's established CA firm, if we are talking about, they already have so much of connects. So first they should look for within their connect, are there any people who are located outside India and they can try with them. Because initially, to bring the experience up, they might have to rate lower, but get the experience in. Because once you have got 6 months, 1 year of experience, they know what quality is expected, what are the laws and regulation, what are the mindset of those people. Their team is also trained, so they have created the bandwidth. They can go on a larger terms.
Okay, amazing. What is the infrastructure that I need? Okay, like what investment? What do I have to investment? Okay, I have to get clients. That's one part. We will dig into that question a little more later on. But what else do I need? So if I want to start, how expensive is the entire process like?
So there are two ways. When I started it, I had put all those infrastructure costs, including the server and software, on the onshore to the company, and I quoted the minimum what is pertaining to the staff cost. So either you quote lower, which will only include the staff cost in IT infrastructure, which is working on VPN, virtual network, and you only quote for the staff cost plus your markup. So you are just quoting full-time equivalent without any other cost. Or you can create, which I will not advise initially, you create your own infrastructure, you buy your own software, so QuickBook and others, and then you bring your pricing to include that also. It's part of your costing. So otherwise, then the staff cost, seating cost, and having good trained staff, I do not see much of infrastructure cost involved in this.
Okay, that's amazing. So basically, anyone can just start out. Okay, you need team. That's important. You need someone to deliver good quality work and someone to acquire clients for you. These are the two important things. Otherwise, it's not a heavy capital investment that's needed at all. Nothing on that sort. Other than
I'll give
your
you an example. I'll give you an example. I
yeah,
have one of our clients which is
yeah.
into offshoring for more than 10 years. They have a schema running in. They deliver the laptop also. Okay. If you are from the surrounding of those places from where their offices are, they deliver you the laptop also. You have to work on their laptop and work as a contract on contract basis till your busy season of the India starts, say till March. And that way also you can bring in your first offshoring experience. From there, you can pick up your own practice. So infrastructure is not a challenge.
Amazing, amazing. That's great. Anything else you would like to add, like like a step-by-step process if someone wants to start up, like in simple words? Anything else?
First is if it is smaller CA firm, mid-size CA firm, look around, list down your network. This is what I did. Okay. What I'm saying is not I'm just preaching, I'm actually doing it. List down your connects. Find out where do you think you have connects, which country do you have the connects. Secondly, find out what kind of work they might be looking around. Is it like audit licensing, or it might be virtual CFO, it might be normal operations, or it might be audit outsourcing, tax outsourcing. Secondly, look around in your network if you have any people with similar experience who would like to have entrepreneurship experience and they would like to associate with you. Thirdly, find out if that is something which is a growing area. So I can bank on any offshoring area which will pick up, which is through US taxation or tax filing, payroll, operations outsourcing, everything is growing. Fourthly, what are the terms with the foreign onshore party you want to finalize? So the secret here is we have a 3x formula. So whatever is your staff cost, sitting cost, and any other overhead, you should be at least getting 3x amount from the onshore partner. So if my staff cost is 50,000, sitting cost generally in India in smaller cities is 3,000 to 5,000, and other overheads which might be admin expenses, partner putting in his time or her time. Suppose 60,000 to 70,000 is the cost. As good as 2 lakhs is something minimum you should be expecting as full-time equivalent. But when you are freshly starting, you might have to take a risk and discount yourself to only on 100% markup. But once you are established, which is like after 1 year of experience, you can easily target 3x. In addition to that, as you grow up and you have crossed your learning curve, you find out that each task can also be segregated into simpler tasks and something which requires emotional quotient, IQ, or complex work handling. So the simpler task you can pass on to your CA interns or other articles or lower level staff, and the higher level staff can be handling multiple engagements. So as you grow your experience in offshoring, your revenue increases from 2x to 3x of the cost, and so would your maturity will increase, which will reduce your cost. So all large players are making approximately more than 35% of the net returns in hand,
Wow.
whatever investment they will make.
That's amazing. That's great. Would you want to elaborate a little bit on acquiring of clients? So, Hardik, a lot of people say, hey, you know what? I'm in India. Okay. A CPA firm in the US won't trust me. I don't have the bandwidth to go there. Upwork is too crowded. Like, what do I do? How do I acquire these clients? You must be having some case studies of someone using some trick and something of getting it. So, can you just elaborate on that and share on this aspect?
I would say acquiring client is a difficult task, even in onshore acquiring, because they focus on experience first, quality first, then the pricing. Unlike Indian clients, if tax audit is done at 25,000, I go in the market say 5,000, 5,000, I will get leads. Okay, but in onshore, they are very much focused on quality, double checking that whether the person will be able to do it or not, then just the pricing. So it is not that when I say, you charge 2x and it is easy to get the client, but yes, somewhere you will have to sacrifice a bit in your initial pricing because the other person in the onshore is also taking a risk by giving work to an inexperienced person, inexperienced in offshoring person. So the first thing is you have to work out on your costing in your pricing. So having a setup in a smaller, city helps in bringing down the pricing as compared to you having a setup like me in Mumbai, where you cannot get a staff as good as a CA less than 1 lakh rupees. So starting with a smaller city and finding a person with really good communication will reduce your risk and will bring down your costing. So I have seen few of the case studies, Shantan, from Ahmedabad, where they will charge as low as 60,000 rupees per full-time equivalent. So they should have reduced their staff cost as good as 30,000. So they are quoting 60,000. While the market rates might be 1.5 lakhs for full-time equivalent or one person charge. So first is working on the pricing. Second is you yourself having an experience or you are associating with someone having an experience, making a good flyer and a brochure and trying out with multiple CPA firms if you do not have any acquaintances or any connections. So if I want to take personal advice to anyone, I would first go with your own acquaintance, your own friends who have been working with you earlier in some finance team and now they are in the finance team of overseas company. So that can be the best match. Today morning's case, I would like to share one of my CA friends who is running a good CA firm since last 6 years. He's a ex-KPMG. Reached out to me that he has one of his friends who is working in Africa, South Africa, and he is owning a good company with some good turnover, and we are getting this offshoring. So how should I go about? So these are the successes which I have seen. If you are a CA firm, you ought to have good connection. Starting with connection gets you two benefits. One, you do not get exploited. Secondly, you might have to sacrifice on the pricing because you are dealing with NRI over there, non-resident individuals. So they know what are the costing here and pricing here. But they take care of you if you do not know the local taxes because they know you have handled complex taxes. So handling those countries' taxes will not be a challenge. So Deepak, if you take my advice, start with someone known. If you do not know anyone, then you can always feel free to reach out to me. I have many connections. I'm not taking work. I can help you. But otherwise, creating leads through, getting a list of CPA firms and trying them out after making a good flyer, which makes sense, can be a best way out.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, okay, so once you get the client, okay, once you formed a connection, someone shows interest in you, okay, then closing that client and winning that person's trust, I think, is more and more important, right, rather than just securing, right? So, trust is a very important factor here. So, you have interacted with a lot of outsourcing firms, right? So, what is a typical timeline, to get, say, a mid-sized CA firm to trust you and to set up the entire aspect, the office in India? Like, how long does it take?
So, very good question. I missed out adding this thing. So, generally, it's always advisable to start with relatives and known one. Secondly, if you don't have known one, starting with a frank, discussion that I can be taking operations outsourcing with me, but the laws and regulation is something which I want to take it last. So, gradual onboarding of the offshoring work will be the best advisable work. Simplifying, if you're starting with audit offshoring, not going on IFRS disclosures and presentation check, starting with financial statement tie-out, vouching and verification, confirmation rolling out, those kind of work. And as the process goes and you are building the trust, which generally takes 3 to 6 months in audit offshoring, because you would have crossed interim busy season and then the real busy season. So it's always advisable to have at least 6 months of period before you onboard all the work, including compliances and disclosure check. But when you are doing accounting outsourcing or taxation outsourcing, so in accounting outsourcing, you can always start with R2R or P2P, which is procurement to payment, or R2R, which is something to do with recording of invoices, recording the sales order. So normal transactional stuff, which is anyway common in India as well as overseas. We are also using SAP, they are also using SAP. So there is no big difference. And in the last, which is after 3 months, 6 months, gradually onboarding VAT filing or GST filing and payroll tax filing, those kind of work. So gradually, first initially starting with the transactional stuff and then later on starting with the compliance work. I'll share with you my own experience. When I was trying to onboard the relative of mine, I frankly told him I do not have any experience of UK compliances, tax filing, and payroll. So we agreed detailed term of how we'll be onboarding it. I also made a visit, to UK to learn the practices, the laws and regulation filings there. So I was there for 1 month. After I learned it, as you rightly said, first building the trust, then I started working on the compliances.
Wow. Okay. Okay, that's amazing, and that's some great advice for individual. How can you start? So do you see a lot of solo entrepreneurs coming up? Solopreneurs, and So how do they start? Again, do you say Upwork or anything, any other specific route?
Yeah, so Kapil and to the other listeners, as I shared, many of the offshoring are flooding with work, and they are looking for gig work model or contract basis model where they have experienced people like Kapil. They will fetch them in on a contract basis for the busy season. Of course, as Kapil would have say 3 years of post qualification experience, he would expect anything not less than 2 lakhs per month. But those offshoring will not pay anything more than 1 lakh. But if you are ready to invest in that 1 lakh sacrifice to build your first offshoring experience, that one stamp gets you independently, pitching in the work, getting a confidence, making those skill gap bridged. So starting with the gig work can be one of the stuff. And second is what I think Chandel already highlighted, Upwork, Fiverr, but that's a very patience testing, exercise, which is what I am generally not advising people rather than, going on a solo model also with a current offshoring company in India. They require a lot many people on contract basis or going with, the normal lead generation, practice going to, the established onshore in UK, US, and those countries. But getting solo work is very difficult. Rather, reach out to the offshore model, which will pay less, but gradually you bring your experience, build your experience.
Okay, okay. And do you see a lot of CAs or non-CAs? There's going to be an exponential growth. Okay, hiring, is that going to happen? And will this increase the cost of employees because everyone's looking at India because of good skilled worker and cost? right? So is this going to really increase? Because I was talking to a couple of big four who captive employees who do for the US and UK, right? They are paid really heavily, like 2 years of experience, 31 lakhs. We want you, please join in. There's so much of work. So how is the costing going to impact the entire aspect?
So one of our offshoring keeps hammering to me that currently just 5 to 7% of onshore mid-sized CPA firms have tried sending work to offshore. So there are at least more than 80 to 90%. They are yet to try this cost-efficient model, and there is lot more work which is yet to come in next 3 years, to come. So as you rightly said, especially with 2 years experience, people who are highly priced, they will continue to be highly priced as the demand for people having 2 years of experience will always be in demand, especially Sharmishta, like people trying to find those 2 years experience people so that they can start their offshoring easily. Those people will always be, pricing higher than what we can think of to their peers with 2 years of post-qualification experience. So I would say not just 2 years of experience, even just 3 to 6 months of offshoring experience people are also in high demand and they are paid like hell. People are not caring about their qualification, their career gaps, whether they are working individually and they are offered a fair price which they were not earlier getting. So I'm very happy with this price increase. In India, people are fairly paid if they are premium in their communication, in their quality of work, and they have chosen themselves for a particular domain. They've taken a risk by disassociating them with Caro Companies Act, updates, and they've chosen a UK, US, Canada kind of domains. So they've taken a huge risk, okay, by not knowing what are the changes in GST in last 2 years. So that risk should be rewarded.
Okay, fair enough. Absolutely. The risk should be rewarded. I'm really understanding this. And that's a very important point that you made. You said that only 5% or 2 to 5% of firms in the developed countries have started to outsource. And there's a whole 90% or 95% market yet which needs such services. So it's actually going to go very big, right? This is nothing you mean to say. That's why there's a lot of attention on what's happening.
Correct. And
Okay.
always there is a lack of resources who can take on that work. So many of the offshoring we meet who would have grown from 50 to 150 or 200 within a span of 1 year, they're all repenting. They're saying we should not have grown so huge because the quality is affected. So there will always be, I would say, high competition. Okay, but as the time passes, only the good offshoring will survive. When there is a rise, there will be many offshoring which will be born every day, every week, but only who will focus on quality will survive. So there will be demand, there will be more demand, okay, but then only few players will survive, is what I foresee.
Wow, that's a great point because I've seen a lot of people and everyone has seen guys just skyrocketing, like out of nowhere. Means, of course, they put in a lot of hard work, no doubt, but there's been a tremendous growth. Okay, so you still say go slowly. Don't just take and accumulate work. Quality matters. Otherwise, that's the biggest challenge. In most cases, US CPA firms question the quality of small CAs in India and eventually don't give work to them. So, how do you address this part, especially if you are a small CA firm?
I totally agree, Harsh, and I don't have anything else to add to this. But gone are the times when, because you are a small CA firm, you have to sacrifice on the doubt of you will not be providing good quality services. When I started, I had created some feedback from my existing clients how they were very much happy with I would say working experience with us. Also, we highlighted some quantitative aspects that if the return filing date is this much, these many returns were filed on time, like more than 90%. So we tried to produce some quantitative aspect in our brochure just to develop a mindset, develop an impression in their mind that we are different small size CA firm. We work more professionally, and adding to that, some unqualified professionals who have right relevant experience. So, Harsh, I might be repeating myself, but I feel having an experienced staff in a small size CA firm or you are working as a freelancer, combined, it can produce a great, I would say, impression in the onshore's mind. But if you do not have a right staff who has relevant experience of that region, of that compliances, then even if it is a big firm, they doubt us. So first is creating a right impression that we are a different smaller size CA firm, and combined with a right staff can produce a good result. And adding a right staff doesn't require you to hire them. Okay, you just need to find out some freelancers. I have many people in my eyes who would like to work with you as a freelancer. So you add their profile to your firm's profile and you put together.
Harsh also adds on that there's going to be an increase in the use of technology and AI that can bring in a lot more efficiency.
I would like to add something to this, Harsh. Recently, we onboarded crypto accounting client, which neither did I have any idea, neither did my staff have any idea. But you would surprised to see there were 7 companies located across the world, okay, including Singapore, Australia, US. The main company was in US, and the crypto accounting was new to us, and we had understood if the transactions are 1,000, we would at least take 15 to 20 days to account for them because it's a US client. We have to be very precise. But you'd be surprised to see we just accounted for in 2 days. Okay. How come? Because the QuickBook has AI functions. The moment I see bills from Regus and I've imported bank statement and it has Regus is a co-working space. It has entries every month on 5th, $5,000. First entry you pass, rent expense account debit to bank, it automatically passes for all other months. So as you rightly said, with AI there in QuickBook, Zero, those softwares, the efficiency is increasing. People you involve, they also appreciate it because they are tired of working in Tally, okay, with the look and with the feel. So my people were very excited to learn QuickBook. They put in extra hours happily to learn these AI functions, and it brought a lot of efficiency. Next month we reduced our charge from X to 1, half of it, because we found out that the efforts are very less. So client was also happy.
Amazing. This is amazing. Which country is currently best for the outsourcing work?
Whichever is in your reach, okay. So I would say I had close relatives in UK, so I started with UK because every other country for finance and accounts professional, they are offering same accounting or auditing or tax filing. The tax filing and compliances are different, okay, but they are simpler as compared to India. The accounting is same. There are 4 to 5 softwares which everyone is using. So depending on where you are getting first opportunity, you can bank on. I would say Ireland is growing, UK is growing, US is growing, Australia is growing, Canada is growing. So I don't see any untouchability to any region. Wherever you have a first reach, you can start gradually grow your team with offshoring experience, and as you are growing, you can evaluate where further opportunities you are seeing, and then focus on one domain and one region. But first to start, if you are a fresher starter, then don't choose country. Just see where you are getting. I'll give my example. When I was starting offshoring, I was offshoring from Romania. Okay, very small country. There was some government person who had some references, and he told, Hardik, would you like to do Romania offshoring? Now I don't see any future, but I was getting it. So I would say, don't have any untouchability for any country. Just focus on the work, developing your staff for the quality which is required for offshoring, and then world is yours.
Amazing. That's amazing. That a lot of work is moving to other geographies like Israel and Vietnam and Philippines. So because of the increase of cost of work in India. So do you observe this with a lot of your clients? Has this, or it doesn't impact them? Doesn't matter. There's a lot.
I think in India, the quality is increasing, and we have handled more complexities than what Vietnamese, Filipino, or Israeli people would have, dealt with, especially for the subject of this interview, which is finance and accounts. So I see we have a bright future, and as we, discussed earlier, there are 90% of the CA firms who are not tried also. So it is not that 100% of the people have already tried. Now they will move to, Israel, and I'm worried. There are so many people who have not tried, and it's an open market. We should not be worried of, I would say, the competition, because there are so many customers still who have not tried. Okay, so it's like we are in 2014 Geo stage where there is no other phone company who have tried it. So why to worry?
Wow. I think we've covered everything. You've answered everything so diligently. Would you have any closing message? That's one to everyone who wants to be a part of this, of how the anything that you want to tell them. Many people have this FOMO that, hey, that's one. Second one is, we're talking only about the good things. Okay. What are the challenges also that one will have to overcome? So these are my two last questions.
So don't grow fast is one of the advices I have, one of the conclusions I have got from most of the offshoring, that they grew very fast. So they were not able to maintain the quality. And as earlier interview with Chantel of Connect founder, she mentioned that one bad feedback and your offshoring gets down by 1 year. It takes a lot of effort to, again, develop the confidence in the team, develop the confidence in the UK market, and make that, another, good feedback. So work slowly, grow gradually, and focus more on learning. If you are, going to start offshoring, try to go very slow. Don't take too much of work. I would share my own example. Currently, if I have 5 staff, I am not having work more than 3.5 people. I would rather keep my staff non-busy or unoccupied rather than having them overoccupied, because I never know, when the workflow will increase from the existing customer, and I end up, producing a, I think worse result. Focus on quality, focus on, having a right staff, and that will handle all the challenges. The tone on the top is to produce right quality work, then the people below will also produce the right quality work rather than quantity work.
Amazing. And there's going to be an exponential growth, as you said. So the future is bright and nice and happy. Okay. Okay, cool. So, yes, everyone, thank you so much for joining in. And Hardik, thank you for this amazing conversation, and answering everything. Some of the questions we repeatedly asked you, but you were so patient. So, thank you so much.